1, full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, and hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow in Pit Lane's weekly get-together, where we just sit around and chew the fat about all things motorsport and what happened on the weekend, what'll happen next weekend, what'll happen next year, what'll happen in the decades to come. Who knows? Who cares? We do know that over the weekend it was a spectacular race at Mount Panorama. Was it the best race ever? We will talk about that as well. Wild conditions on the mountain, and once again showing just what a magic place that is and what a challenge it is for drivers. Also, another great race was over at the other side of the world at Road Atlanta as well, with the Petit Le Mans, an Australian taking a championship over there, and another amazing race, and weather wasn't involved in that case. Also coming up, will the weather get involved this weekend down at Phillip Island? Yes, it is the MotoGP, and we'll be having a bit of a chat about what's just around the corner down at the island this weekend. And to join me in talking about all of those things, we've got pretty much the full roster on tonight. We've got Peter Johnson, we've got Craig Doc Latigo, we have Richard Outram, and from Queensland, Mr. Mark Jones. G'day guys, how are we?
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, viewers and listeners.
Good evening.
I'm ecstatic. It's been a brilliant weekend.
Hasn't it? Wow.
It was crazy. It was one of those things where, like, I did watch a lot more of Petit Le Mans than I was planning, because it was, and I just thought, as that was finishing, I thought, well, you know, like, okay, well, Bathurst, you're going to have to be pretty bloody good to beat that. That was one hell of a good race. And it was like Bathurst said, here, hold my beer, and give it to Chaz Mostert, because it was just, you know, it was just incredible. I was going to go out. I had plans. I had things I needed to do. I was going to watch the first sort of 90 minutes to 2 hours, go out and do what I had to do, and then get home and watch the last couple of hours. I didn't move from the chair all day, and my back is still paying for it, because I was just, you know, no, I'm not. I'll get up and, oh no, hang on. What do we think, Pete? What was your impressions of it all?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was interesting that the Mustangs mechanically were falling apart. I thought that was interesting.
Well, it's the weight of all that parity.
Hang on. Did you say parity or parody?
Yeah, I think it was the D version. I agree with you, Jonesy, on that one.
Or maybe just weight of a lot of parrots. Parroting.
It is spring. There are a lot eating our lawns at the moment.
And I've got to apologise to Richie Stanaway saying he'd come in 15th. Well, he drove brilliantly from, lap and a quarter down to almost made it to the podium, except he found the fence at the cutting. But then again, a lot of people did find various places to exit the track.
I think I'm going to throw it out there too, Richard, that I think the young ones, the younger generation, let's just categorise as old and young, and then forget about the median for a second. I think the young generation was outstanding, the drives, compared to maybe the more experienced for the whole week. It was just a great.
Yeah, and we got to the last half hour of the race, and all of the favourites, except for Ryan Wood and Matt Payne, were gone. Something had happened to all of them at some point or another, and they were, half a lap behind or much worse.
Not all of the favourites, because I think, if I remember rightly, on last week's program, Mark, a couple of us might have got the tip right.
Right, yeah.
Well, yeah, I did. I did question whether Payne and Tander were roughy enough to be considered the roughy tip, but yeah, I thought they would. I thought they were that Matt Payne's shown more than enough that he could have pulled off what he did pull off, and it's I don't know if I can't remember if any of you guys picked Jimmy Golding at all. I know that none of us picked David Reynolds to figure at the end, and
No, Dave.
or Cooper Murray for that matter.
When you start throwing the conditions you do, other than just a straightforward 1 or 2 safety car race, you throw a whole lot of variables at them. It becomes a war of attrition for the whole day. And we, from about 2 o'clock onwards, there was lots of variables thrown at them, including mechanical failure, like always happens. But if you have a nice, clean, 25-degree, sunny race, blah, 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 tyres are all what, the pit stops are all great, blah, 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 it usually turns into just who makes the least mistakes into the wall. But when you throw extra variables, it seems to take more cars out, which is invariably how it all happens. However, to answer your question, Brett, because no one has yet, I would equal it on the best race of all time, equal with the slick Tiger and Conrod when everyone piled up year. I reckon that one and this year's one probably equal the best ever.
But it's hard. I think it's hard to say best ever, but it's one of the best. And to your point, Mark, I did say one of the premier cars would win. But I didn't say which one.
Jimmy Golding was brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Did he deserve it?
No.
Well, that is the elephant in the room. Let's get onto it because obviously, I mean, he was penalised after that move on Cooper Murray. At the time, it was a silly move from the fact that he was clearly the faster of the drivers. He and Dave Reynolds at the time were both lapping faster than basically anybody else on the track. He just seemed to. The car just came into its own. It was set up beautifully for the wet weather, and James was driving it really well. But he went for that. He went for that spot. He saw a gap and he went for it. Like Lando said, if you see a gap, you don't go for it. You're not a racing driver. Well,
different conditions.
He did. But I mean, it was if it had been the last lap or something, or with 2 laps, I would have thought, okay, it's understandable. But he really just got a bit overexcited and pushed it. But
no, it was a stupid decision. I've seen Jimmy, and I'm a big supporter of him. I remember you and I met him years ago with GRM stuff and S5000. But he's become a serial bad decision maker for many years now in the supercar. He's taken a lot of people out and had to apologise probably more than the average driver for doing stuff. And to throw to the point, which I briefly mentioned before we came on air, was that Matt Payne, in his immediate interview getting out of the car with Jess Yates before even his teammate or any of the team came running down, she asked him, he said, I was watching, I was the car behind, I could see he was going to do it, and it wasn't on. And that's from a guy who he was always going to do it, but it was just stupidity at its epitome. He was never going to get it done. He was always going to stuff it. So what?
There were other battles. There were other battles that I thought were going to end in tears, and they didn't. But they were touch and go whether they were going to end in tears. It always happens at every racetrack where there's
in those conditions. And if you have a look at some of the footage, I mean, he was up. James was up a long way, and there was through even in the wet. They were going around the corner sort of too wide on occasions. I must say, Cooper Murray, a great save. I mean, Cooper said, it's probably more good luck than anything else. Whether it was or not, it was a fabulous save. But I don't think people are saying, it cost Cooper and Job the win. Well, do you think he would? I don't think he would have won because I think if James if James he could have, but then so could Dave Reynolds and
should have.
It's like I think if James had have pulled off a clean pass and got in front, I don't think anyone would have touched him over those.
If any of them had pulled off a clean pass and got in front, it goes exactly forever. And what you just said about his car was on, so was Davey Reynolds up to that point as well too. His was at that level at the end where the Premier was racing in the wet, and David was absolutely switched. I actually just going to throw a little bit to the side a bit, and Jonesy can back me up on this. We were probably discussing different aspects of the race from about lunchtime onwards throughout the day, and Brett, you had vision of all this footage. Some of the stuff, Jonesy and I, we could see it was going to happen before it even happened, laps beforehand, or even we even knew what the commentators were going to say well beforehand. And I even said to Jonesy, I said, I wonder if the weather conditions are going to make take out the brake pad replacement like they do each year at a certain point of the race. And no one asked that question during the whole
No, they didn't.
day.
I didn't.
No, and they spoke
I
about
asked
it
you,
in
Jonesy.
the. They spoke about it and highlighted, for example,
Margarita.
that the Shell team last year, I think, changed pads twice,
Did too.
and
Yeah.
not the Shell team, sorry, Kostecki is winning Erebus car. They changed twice, and like they spoke about that like before the race started, but once they got into the race, it was never mentioned again, and that was even with all the dry running that they had, and then when the rain came and removed the possibility, nobody highlighted you're right, Doug. No one made any
I
mention
think they
that,
could have expanded also on this year's wet weather tyre a bit better. They were focusing on the deg and the how much they get out of it and keeping them warm and all that sort of stuff. But they could have actually given us a little bit more background information on it's the first year it's been used, this type of compound, and maybe the sizing and that sort of stuff, and give us a bit more background rather than just focusing on the. Well, I suppose maybe the usual Australian bogan fan doesn't really care about maybe the technical stuff as much as we do, I suppose. But it was predictable.
And it's one of the few times I'll agree with Mark Scaife. On Thursday, when it was wet, James Golding and the other car went out in the wet, and hardly anyone else did. And he said, "This is ridiculous. There's rain predicted on Sunday. They should go out." And it's one of the few times I've agreed with him. And it happens in Formula One, where in a practice session, if it's wet, they don't go out. And I've never understood it.
What did I agree on, Mark? On one thing on the whole day too. I actually agreed on something he said too. What was it, Jonesy? I'm just trying to flick through our posts now. I agree with Scaife actually, mate.
By the way, speaking of while you're looking that up, speaking of commentary, for those of you at home who were playing the Macaulay Jones drinking game, i.e., whenever Neil Compton mentioned and bigged up Macaulay Jones, my condolences to your family and friends, because there's no way that you would be. You would, yes. I mean, there's no way that Dean Martin at his finest could not have contained that amount of alcohol. I mean, it was painful. I mean, young Macaulay Jones he's up to 15. Oh, he's doing this is just. He must have taught. I mean, for God's sake, I know Brad's your best mate and all the rest of it, and I don't know. I actually went looking for it. It wouldn't surprise me either if in fact, if Neil is actually Macaulay's godfather or something. They're the best of, because obviously Brad and Neil are the best of mates. They've been for many years. I remember when Brad came into the show years ago. Neil came with him. Neil wasn't even a guest on the show, but Neil just tagged along and but just it didn't come onto camera. Just stood in the background and looked very annoyed that their night out was being ruined by this annoying television show. But whatever. I mean, they're the best. They are the best of mates, and he was just pushing Macaulay through so much, and it was painful.
Got to give it to him. Probably, it's probably the highlight of his career. He's had plenty of practice, but he did quite well. He kept it clean and respectful.
Well, I mean, he's done that, but when you have a look at it now, I mean, it's not as if he's a kid. I was surprised. He's 31 years old. He's 31. And they said
also that Nick Percat was 37. How did that happen? How did Jones become 31 and Percat 30? I mean, I don't. Am I getting so old now that I don't know that these guys are getting on?
I
Yes.
remember.
Sorry.
We interviewed Jack Perkins when he was 11. We interviewed Mark Winterbottom when he was 14. We also had obviously we had Tom Randall on when he was about 12 for the first time. Nick Percat. We had some kid from Queensland on called Bill Will Power or something. We had this kid on as well.
Yeah. Liam Power, I think he calls himself now.
Yeah, so
Yeah, didn't we have someone called Lowndes who had P plates on his car and was doing donuts in front of the studio?
Well, I don't know. He wasn't doing donuts in front of the studio, but he was very, very young. In fact, that was. I've told the story before that he failed to show up on that first thing. And that was in the very first season. That was 1996, and he was going to be one of our first guests, and he was going to come in. He was scheduled to come in alongside of Melinda Price, and Melinda was this is a bizarre thing. I mean, Melinda's out there doing television now and doing a very good job as a pit reporter, and suddenly, but she was the most nervous guest that we've ever had in 28 years of In Pit Lane. There was not a more nervous guest than Melinda. And she was just saying as she was waiting, oh, thank God, Craig. I've known Craig because we've grown up together. We're really good. He's very good and he's very confident. And then it was like, oh, Craig forgot and he's not going to be able to make it. And Melinda was like, oh, my God. But yeah, I mean that's so. Imagine, from our point of view, I mean and that was the funny thing going through all of from a personal standpoint, going through and looking at all those names like James Golding, Cooper Murray, Dave Reynolds, all of the people that were up in that top 10. Most of them have been guests on the show over the years. So we had sort of a dog in the fight and. They all did really well. I always thought the impressive thing was that it wasn't the chaos that it was that year that, everyone went. Because obviously people were on the right tyres in 92. Yeah, so it was, back then there were a lot of people were on slicks and all because it hit rapidly. But I just. Well,
that was an actual storm. This was just,
But I just think I just thought the performance all round by everybody was really, really impressive. And I just sat there and thought, all those people in America now who are going, God, how the hell is Shane Van Gisbergen just seems so good on rock. How the hell is with it? Hey guys, watch the last 2 hours of Bathurst, the Bathurst 1000. All those
watch
Americans.
The last 4.
And just have a look and just put yourself in that seat with those cars on those narrower tyres. Yes, they've got wings, but there's not a lot of downforce on them. There's no ABS. There's no traction control.
It's no paddle shift. It's hand stick manual.
Shift. Yeah, it's These are, as Elaine Menu said, these are they are like tractors. They are fast they are fun tractors, but they are like compared with what I normally drive.
Fair, they're John Deeres and Lamborghini and John Deere tractors. But
so I think what he was looking
they're
for.
Not Massey Fergusons.
I think what the word was agricultural, but.
They're not all grey. They're all the old grey Fergies.
He's right. They are. Yeah. I mean, they're agricultural compared now to the Super 2s.
Oh God,
they've got they're driving up brakes and front and rear bar and all sorts of things. Yeah.
Well, and to that point, Richard, Lockie Dalton's time in qualifying for the Saturday race would have put him 7th on the grid. In the Bathurst 1000.
Wasn't missed on me.
Yeah. Those Super 2s don't hang around.
Anyway,
he was much faster in his Super 2 than in his supercar.
It's a matter of opinion of not just us, but the thousands and probably tens of thousands of people who watched it on whether they thought it was the best race ever. It's certainly up there for a lot of people, but it all comes down to a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So let's say hello to a
Okay.
few people. Box joining us again. G'day, Box. Thanks for joining us. Eric is with us again. Yes, Eric did tip that said a Ford would win, and he was right. It took a penalty and some rain, but they won eventually. So that would have
That's
made
like
a lot of people
picking
happy.
heads or tails.
It is. I mean, this is one of the problems. Gordon is saying they need to start the race earlier. Yeah. Well,
That's
the
what I was coming
reason
to.
the reason, obviously, that they didn't, and
The
it
lead
worked
into-
beautifully. Yeah, the lead into the news. Channel 7 News on Sunday night got its second highest ratings of the year because people, and it annoyed a lot of people. I saw lots of comments online when they,
The news ran late.
yeah, because there were people saying, I tuned in at 6 o'clock to see the effing news. There's important things going on. They had to sit through this rubbish of these cars going round and round in circles, waiting for my news to come on.
Oh God.
Can I
Yep.
question
All right.
that? I could
Now,
not
can I
find
rant? Can I
Channel 7.
rant? Can
Yeah,
I have a
wanna
rant now that
Go.
I had to turn across to 7 Mate to watch the rest of it? You just
It
ranted
wasn't
about
on
all the
7,
people.
mate.
No.
Oh,
Brett just
yeah,
ranted for
this-
10 seconds about all the people that ranted. They tuned in to see the news. I'm going to rant that I had to actually find my remote control across the other side of the room and hit the button to watch 7 Mate so I could actually watch the follow-up coverage. And I didn't want to watch the news. So there's my rant too for all you other people
Well,
that
I
complain
couldn't
about
find it on
channel.
on any of the channels on Channel 7. It wasn't.
It was on 7 Mate.
You weren't
I,
looking very
I
hard.
threw my remote against the wall when Golding and Murray had their touch up. So that meant I had to change the channel on the TV using my buttons.
Yeah,
Oh, like an
Can I
animal.
just
Yeah,
That's like
that was
like dialing on a phone, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
a disgrace.
Can I just send a general announcement to supercars and to the Australian Grand Prix Corporation? See, supercars can race in the rain.
Yes. Yeah, well,
And
that came up a lot. There was even a couple of international podcasts once again, and one of them was basically the showing like a red flagged race at Spa with like a little bit of water on the track and the conditions up the top of the mountain, and all the rest of it. Okay, they're very different. They are very, very different things, and but it was interesting that they did keep the race going because I don't know how the marshals managed to see from point to point up the top of the.
Probably only the last 15 minutes.
That's
I
when
think.
they should have stopped it. But
It was probably only about
That's-
15
No, they
last
wanted to
15
keep. It
minutes.
was exciting. Why? They didn't want to kill the goose which was laying the golden egg.
True. I'm saying, and I think all the teams and drivers want to keep going. It's probably the last 15 minutes when they did a couple of shots at the top of the mountain. They went, and they were actually talking about it, flag to flag, and they could still see each other at that point, but probably the last 2 laps, maybe it was borderline.
May not have been. Yeah.
Mind you, the shots they took from the helicopter actually made it look much worse than it was because the helicopter's shooting down through parts of the clouds, so it made it. Yeah, that's So, but not to diminish it, but because there was certainly the last 2 laps definitely, but those helicopter shots did make it look a lot.
It did make for great.
I thought it was dangerous flying in the helicopters. Actually, myself.
Well, the thing is, the helicopters were could get above it. That's why it looks so bad because you've got basically the bright light reflecting off of the fog, which makes the fog look even worse from up above. But as I said, it was interesting. I don't recall seeing any in-car camera footage from the top of the mountain for those last 4 or 5 laps. There was a bit down the bottom.
Maybe there was a lighting issue.
Brett, that sounds a bit like moonlight shining off the swamp gas. That kind.
Yeah, exactly. Carl Matthews saying that he's glad he's not the only one noticed that Neil gets excited when Macaulay gets into the top 10. Unfortunately, that means that, like me, Neil doesn't get excited much these days.
No. Neil did get excited because we were just talking about aero then. Neil got extremely excited when the F-35A went across. He absolutely peed himself. It was like a helicopter in his pants.
I will say in regard to that, and because I noticed
I just made that up. That one I just made up as I went along.
Good. I run off the top of my head. Very
It was
good.
fucking flying. There was blades, shit going everywhere.
I will just say that the one thing that I saw with that there, congratulate whoever the camera op was on shooting that. Did an amazing job. That was some of those. Yeah, those things are very, very hard to shoot, even with a good lens.
Tell me about
it. Experience. It was seriously good footage, and congratulations to whoever the camera op was taking those shots.
Or multiple camera ops. There was a couple. There was a couple of them.
There were a couple, but there was one guy in particular, centre of the frame, perfectly focused.
No strike. No.
Brilliant stuff. Excellent stuff. Really good.
Yeah.
But
at least he got that camera operator got a break when the cover band came on.
Yeah, well, that was a.
You told me not to mention it, so I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just saying the cameraman got a break when the cover band came on.
Well, I think everybody had a break when the cover band came. Right. Turned it off,
we'll move on from that one. I'm sorry,
it was a contractual thing with Events New South Wales because they're promoting the stage show, whatever the stage show is.
Adelaide paid for it. Adelaide paid for that. Didn't you hear that on the announcement? Adelaide sponsored that part.
No, I think everyone went out to the loo or to make a cup of tea.
No, maybe I
was in transit, so I didn't see it.
Everyone found a reason not to watch it.
Everyone shot through like a Bondi.
Okay, Nagel's doing that. I'd be interested to hear what.
At that point of the build-up, I was actually watching one of the sport races from early in the day because I left in a little bit.
Well, I was still watching Petit Le Mans because the two overlapped. The two overlapped by about now, so I was basically. So I didn't start watching until it was literally until they were, the green flag was waved at the end, at the back of the grid. That was when I turned the sound down on Petit Le Mans and turned up the.
I'll apologise for not being the ticket. Could everyone please for what they were doing while the cover band was playing their songs and email at the show in pitlane.com.
Or put it in the comment in the comments.
No.
Send an email what
they
you were
might
doing.
Be doing something we can't transmit.
Paul pointing out that the fireworks. That's why I use that in the thumbnail. I mean, that's a great shot. That was the fireworks on the bridge really did look $1 million in that gloom.
The damn track helped it because it caught reflections.
The reflections, and it was a beautiful shot.
And well done, not just to all the flaggies and volunteers that made the whole weekend happen, but the people that actually stayed out there for hour after hour while it was teeming down a lot of the time, with sometimes just ponchos on. I'm sure that a lot of them were prepared because, as I said to Jonesy, I was awake at 5:30 in the morning because that's my body clock with work at the moment. The first thing I did was grab the phone and have a look whether the predictions from the day before was at 2 o'clock for the rain to come kicking in, and it still was there. And that was looking forward to it all day. Just that was going to be the real show, the real race at 2 o'clock.
Well, how about a weather report that was bang on?
Yeah, well, it was funny because if you had a look at because when they were talking about the rain coming over, I jumped on and had a look at the radar, and I went, and the thing was they didn't get the worst of it. I mean, down south it was full on, torrential. They wouldn't have run the race at all. It was steady rain, it was heavy rain, but down south it was, it was an absolute deluge, and there's no way it would have run. If they'd have under those conditions. But I think it was great to see that they got to the end of the race, and as I said, I think all the drivers, particularly those who finished, those who didn't crash, did an amazing job. And as you said before,
I think it was.
It shows how much talent is in there with all of those young drivers. Once again, in terms of Dave Russell did an amazing job. He's not a young driver, of course. He's one of the veterans, but he did a fabulous. He did a fabulous job.
I always say class and class.
Job Stewart was superb.
And D. Russ kicked them across the track in Carrera Cup as well, like 3 out of 3. So he had an excellent weekend, not just in the big race.
Did you get my message about running the promo at the start of the year, Brett? Did you take note of that?
I thought I don't have anything sort of hooked up ready to go, so
Oh, I was going to say, it wouldn't have been a bad idea to give him a plug for Job and Cooper and that the interviews we sourced the promo. That would have been great, just for people. It was fantastic just to see. Looking back 6 months ago, would they imagine that they were going to be? Could have been. They were one step away from the podium.
You've got to hand it to the team at Erebus and to Barry and all of the team out there, because as we well know, it's far from the biggest team out there. It's far from the best resource team going around there, and they almost made it back-to-back wins. I mean, it was with different drivers and just fabulous performance.
I also commented to Jonesy, there's probably the most integral driver-engineer combination, and I mentioned it to you last year, Brett, could we get hold of him? And it was impossible then because he's shifted now as well too. But the most integral, and it proves it because they've moved teams, and Brett knows where I'm going to go with this one. George Commons, with all his Formula One background and European experience over the years as an engineer, and came back to Australia and paired up with Brodie. Brodie would nowhere be near as successful as without George, and vice versa. You put those two together, and they're the most important combination. Other than Ludo's good too, but George is just brilliant.
I think Brodie would be quite successful.
Well, George says that Brodie's like the best driver he's ever worked with.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things one of the reasons that we didn't get George on is George doesn't like giving in, and we saw why when he was eventually dragged kicking and screaming into the to Talarco's in for the data, because George was fascinated in the data because they had the overlay from, I think it was Cam Waters' car, and he's sitting there just looking there, and it was like, I don't think he said more than 2 words for the whole time. Yeah. That's all I got out of him. It's like, I'm not saying anything. I'm just watching that. You talk to Brodie.
Data processing mode turned on. Yes.
Engineers are notoriously bad communicators, as we know after doing more than a decade of Formula SAE. It was the most frustrating thing to get engineers and say, explain to us, what you are doing.
You know how I worked that out with them? I would take them slightly out of their environment with Jason on the camera with me when I would do it, and I'd just get them to switch off about the stuff from it and get them to be themselves, and I got a better interview out of them every time when I got them to stop talking about data and that. That's how I got a better interview out of the engineers in SAE, but by getting them to switch off about that stuff and talking about other things.
Yeah, but we don't want to hear about other things. We want to hear about the bloody engineer, and they can't. Yeah, they just can't explain it.
I think this is how the combination of engineers and race drivers work. Like the one does the data, and the race drivers have the confidence and personality for both of them. They as a pair, they fill each other's gaps.
That's why Barry Ryan doesn't get on with most race car drivers. Why? Were you thinking of interviewing him next week, were you?
No, we did it earlier this year, and you know what? When we interviewed him earlier in the year, he actually was a bit more relaxed, and he was a little bit more forthright with.
But if Barry gets a new driver who hasn't developed their own personality yet, it all goes swimmingly.
Yeah, because he reads in the riot act and molds in the way he wants.
I think
don't do as I say, or hit the hard
way. He's relaxed a little bit, but I think he is very intense. But when Brett and I chatted to him earlier in the year, especially off camera, he's a better person when he doesn't. I don't think when he doesn't feel the pressure. When you put him in an environment where he doesn't have to talk about the pressure or feel the pressure, he becomes a normal person. I think that's a great description if you agree with me or not, Brett. But however, he just needs, when he's out there and he's CEO or he's team owner or something like that, he's one of those persons, he has a personality that comes out of him that has to exert authority, I think. and it comes across the wrong way, and maybe
and
he
it must
portrays
be
it the wrong
said that
way.
for everybody who's complaining, and there have been a few, like, and I've heard it from people who's worked at Erebus, but I've heard just as many, if not more, people who work at Erebus behind the scenes on the crew who would walk over hot coals for him. They just said that they just love the guy.
Their results.
Yeah, the results, when you have a look at those results, when it really counts on those races, and they sort of said, I think even in the interview, I think sort of, I think Barry even said something about the fact that, like the focus to an extent there, obviously the championship was important, but Bathurst was the big deal. Bathurst was the thing that everybody wants to win, and that's what they were focusing on. So
just a little bit of insight
they did a great job.
When Brett and I were chatting to him, and Brett and I were sort of like, "Oh, thanks for coming across." We took each interview person aside beside the building. It was still had the concept of looking at the promotion from an angle from a few meters away, but it was slightly adjacent. That way, we could get a proper shot and some good audio of the person each time we chat. And when Barry came across as well, you do the usual formalities. Thanks, Barry. Good on you, mate. Appreciate the interview. Good. Thanks for your time, all that sort of stuff. And he sort of comes across. He goes, "Yeah, it's all right." You sort of got that impression. It's good to get away with for 5 minutes. I'm actually don't mind having a chat to you. And then when he finished up having a chat to us, he hung around, and I was sort of chatting to him a little bit more longer and saying this and that and otherwise. And he sort of didn't mind hanging back and just chatting to Brett and myself about things because he was away from the spotlight, away from the limelight, and away from the promo. It's sort of like, I suppose I better get back to it.
Yeah, he did. But anyway, congratulations then. But really good performances. We better move on. We better move on from Bathurst. But I thought it was a fabulous race because, like I said, I wasn't. I really don't have the time to sit through and watch 6 hours worth of racing. But I did. I couldn't. I had other things to do. But I couldn't do. I just couldn't move. It was just no. This is just too unpredictable, too exciting. And I think that as I said, even the drivers who did come to grief, you can understand why they came to grief on that circuit and with those cars.
Oh, even Brock Feeney.
Yeah.
Can I make a point? An American driver called Bubba Wallace has been noted in the papers as saying that Shane Van Gisbergen must be cheating because he's won 5 gold lizard gizzards. It must be cheating. Well, he only has to watch Bathurst to know he wasn't cheating. I mean, how well would a Bubba have gone? I don't think very well.
NASCAR drivers don't have a great history at Bathurst, it must be said.
Too
far
from
from
Americans
their
in general.
skill set.
Well, even when James Hinchcliffe and who did he come down with? Alan Rossi?
In the Napa.
Rossi, yep.
In the Napa car.
Yeah, Rossi loved the place. Rossi there. James Hinchcliffe always said, frightened the hell out. I was like, went round and went, this is ridiculous. We can't race here. This is ridiculous.
It's a scary place. I love it.
Well, it was probably on their bucket list and they wanted to, but they just changed their mind.
Yeah, well, obviously it's on a lot of people's bucket list, and I think anybody who was watching that will, particularly if they're, like hardcore drivers. And as I said, I think last year, I'd be very surprised if we don't see Max on the mountain, sometime in the next 5 or 6 years, because I think that he'll definitely want to be there, and I think some other.
Well, yeah. He'll be wanting to check off the bucket list of tracks.
Yeah.
His sim racing favourite tracks, and Bathurst is a very popular sim track.
Wouldn't surprise me he sends a team over first and then maybe follows up the year after.
Well, I hope he sends this year because I am very worried about what's happening for the Bathurst 12 Hour this year because it's going to be very hard. Although I do know that Richard Crail was dropping a few hints over the weekend when a few people asked about the 12 Hours. One thing he said was, some exciting news. Stay tuned. The next few weeks we'll have some very interesting news. So hopefully there's something big on the way for the 12 Hours. Because as I said, as much as it was a fabulous race and all the rest of it, And I heard people say, like, oh, this is, this is the greatest race in the world and all of that. I still say that the Bathurst 12 Hour is a much better race in terms of the quality of cars, the quality of drivers, the quality of just everything involved there. It's the best drivers in the world in some of the best cars in the world. It's a genuine international event, and as good as that was, it is a regional curiosity, and that's something that you don't get with the 12 Hours. The 12 Hours is literally a round of an international championship. But anyway, speaking of international championships, we better, before we move on to there, because we're running out of time already, let's just quickly say congratulations to Matt Campbell. I mentioned Petit Le Mans. Matt Campbell and Matthew Jaminet are the IMSA North American the IMSA North American Sports Car Championships. After another amazing race, if you haven't sat down, go onto the YouTube channel. If you're thinking, oh gee, what am I going to watch this weekend before the Grand Prix? Watch that race, particularly at the end again, because it was just, oh my God, who's going to win this, and how's this going to play out? And you had the Aston Martin doing an extraordinary job. You had the Porsches were there, Lamborghini in their last ever race at one point with only about 10, 15 minutes to go, there was a real possibility that in their final ever race, Grosjean drove absolutely, because as I think John Hindhaugh said, it's like, we're not racing this car again.
There's no tomorrow.
Win it, just go, and he did. Grosjean did a fabulous job, and they just a safety car and a full course yellow would have really helped them out, and they probably would have at least had a podium, but they possibly could have even won the race as well. Race was won by Cadillac. Earl Bamber, the New Zealander. So at one stage on Bathurst Day, we had a dice for the lead between the Kiwi and the Aussie, with Earl Bamber in the Cadillac and of course Matty Campbell in the Porsche. But great race. Corvette won.
And more than that, like as far as New Zealanders go, Hunter McElrea won the LMP2 class as well.
Yeah, so some fabulous stuff there. Also coming up this weekend, of course, speaking of the Bathurst 12 Hours, that series, the Intercontinental GT Championship, the latest round of the 8 hours of Indianapolis, and our mate Kenny Habul, he's picked up a couple of young Australians that he's giving a bit of exposure to. If Jazz Mostert dries out in time, he'll be one of the drivers.
You forgot the prequel, Brett. You jumped the gun there a bit there. What about Barcelona? It was on the weekend as well too, because Kenny decided he didn't want to race in that one.
Well, no, because he wants to. He's
yeah, but I'm saying that there was Barcelona. That was on the weekend, just gone. That was extremely good racing.
Kenny doesn't normally. Yeah, Kenny normally doesn't race. Doesn't race the series. That was GT World Challenge Europe. So
I did mention him on the coverage though.
He's very popular. Yeah. And also, and also because of the fact that that's interesting because. And it's a bit worrying as well. They've announced the field for the FIA GT3 World Cup on the streets of Macau, and it's a smaller field. And one of the reasons it's a smaller field is there are no Mercedes entered at all. Ooh. So,
did you put that in your ticker? Is that in the ticker down the bottom there?
No, I didn't have time.
Oh, and there's another thing you missed as well too. A young superstar son. A guy's called what's his name? Mick Schumacher's joining Indy as well too. It's been announced today.
Oh, that's there. I think.
Is it? Is it down there?
No, I don't know. It was there.
I don't think. That's not down there.
I didn't have time because I'm really just amazed that so far this thing is this computer's holding up because because I've only just I've literally with
Well, anyway,
about 20 minutes.
Mick Schumacher Jr. is going to be racing IndyCar, and he's released a statement and looking forward to it.
Well, of course he is, but
I reckon he'll have a lot of fun with it. To be honest, I reckon he'll enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I think so. And that seems to be the case with a lot of European drivers who go and race in America, whether they race in IMSA, NASCAR, or IndyCar. They seem to have a lot of fun over there. It's a much more relaxed environment. Speaking of having fun, relaxed environment down this weekend at Phillip Island. They won't be that relaxed because there is a bit of rain forecast, I believe, for Sunday. But we won't be seeing Marc Marquez, but we will be seeing most of the other competitors. Doc, I mean, are you going down at any stage, or?
I've got some engagements in St Kilda I've got to work behind the scenes of. I think you know where I'm going there on that one. And
you got the drag show back again. Congratulations. That's really good. That's fabulous. I love your Ethel Merman.
That security camera's working again, is it? Damn it! Yeah. I thought I saw the light on it the other day when I was putting my makeup on. You didn't catch me naked though, did you?
Oh God!
No. My eyes.
I want to see pictures of the styrofoam wigs.
You know way too much, Jonesy. You have been watching.
I've heard things.
But anyway, let's quickly get on to.
I haven't put a leotard on since I did my Olivia Newton-John cover in my 20s. When I went to gym. No, I'm sorry, I'm joking. That was a red faces night at the footy club. And that's another story.
Footballers love dressing up in drag.
That's another story.
I did do it once, but that was under duress. So
I'm very glad to say, with all the things that I've done over the years on stage or in front of camera, I have never done drag. So,
I did a gym outfit, girls' gym outfit for which was that's a bit scary.
Yeah, the charges come up on Thursday.
Well,
Anywho, moving right along, I'm going to throw it out there. Alex Marquez is probably going to go into favourite for the Phillip Island, and hopefully Jack Thriller Miller, who's sitting in 18th at the moment, 18th in the standings. He's better than that. We've said that all year, but he's made some silly decisions and probably not had the best machinery around the ring. Hopefully he can throw something together. I don't know whether he's going to get some Bathurst weather. Maybe some Bass Strait will push up from Tassie. But, we hope for a top 10. But, look, the crowd might – hopefully it's not his last year now, so, everyone's not going to be giving him the farewell Queen wave or anything like that. But hopefully they put on a great show, and that numbers may not be as big as what they were when Casey Stone was racing a few million years ago, but it's a great event. Go down there if the weather's fine, enjoy it. I was speaking to some friends in the event industry last weekend. The weekend before, when I was doing the Olivia Newton-John walk and run for cancer. They were going down to set some things up at that stage, and they said it's looking pretty rosy down there. So make the best of it. I've been more than a dozen times in my life to the event, and I never regret every time I get down there saying, you got to make the effort to go sometimes, but you never regret doing it. It's a fun, really great event to go to. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I did have a quick look at some of the off-track stuff the other day. There's going to be a trackside hill with an ultimate pit stop or that sort of stuff. And there's going to be a Lukey lawn, so you could probably expect to see some old school bikes. Plus, the shed, the promotional shed that's opposite the pits every year, whether it be Superbikes or MotoGP, and I can say for a fact they have a lot of sponsorship, a lot of vendors, a lot of aftermarket stuff, a lot of factory stuff. And when I mean by factory stuff, not necessarily they might not be racing it like BMW and maybe Norton or whoever it may be, Royal Enfield. The manufacturers put on some fantastic displays with all their bikes for this year that have been released or up and coming. Sometimes you get a sneak preview as well too. So the off-track stuff is fantastic. And, of course, don't forget those beautiful ocean views.
Well, that's coming up. So that'll be on both Foxtel's KO and Channel 10, of course. Channel 10 is one of the the three motorsport events that are alongside of the Australian Grand Prix and Bathurst that are on the anti-siphoning list. So that will be you'll be able to watch it on Channel 10 as well as KO and Fox over the weekend. And looking forward to that. You mentioned the run for cancer, the Olivia Newton-John thing. Our thoughts go out along with Paul here. His Scottish Supercross racer Dean Wilson won both rounds of the OzX series only hours after his mother passed away from as a result of a battle with cancer. So that would have been
Batesy on the weekend. His mum only died 2 weeks ago too.
Yeah, obviously with a lot of
another one that did well.
He was very good, and also so he did a great job as well. You have a look at, you see that the young talent coming through is very impressive. And
can I just say one thing? I didn't join us last week. Work commitments. I did the monster trucks. A huge day, massive day at Amy Stadium. I'm not going to go into the spectacle and the entertainment side of things that it is. Go for yourself. It's worth the money. Realistically, a wonderful family event. But I was in the position I was in at one stage. I got a briefing with all my other cohorts, but I was working alongside the American gentleman that runs the safety side of things for them in the arena and around the outside of it, as far as from a spectator's point of view, wherever they go around the world and set up. And he actually threw some responsibility at me towards the end of the day on the second half of the day, which was really good of him. He had to go and do some things. And right, you're in charge of this area now. I need you to do everything I've taught you and everything I've told you about, which I'm not going to go into. However, my biggest point I took away from it is you wouldn't be surprised the safety things that have to go behind those things and what damage they can possibly do, and the reason why the arena is set up the way it is, because they can cause carnage. Absolutely. Whenever you go to those things, there's all the safety precautions are there for a reason, and I know full well now exactly why.
And I ask if you want to know how much damage they can cause, amongst other things, to your back. Ask Grant Denyer, because he's probably still suffering, because he managed after driving a monster truck, he managed to break a couple of vertebrae in his back. So
he was out for months.
Yeah,
he used to say that that the incident and the surgery he had to have afterwards actually made him an inch shorter, and he didn't have an inch to give away.
Exactly. Hold his beer on that one too.
He came into Melbourne's cheapest cars dressed as a tennis player. We won I can't forget. And I thought, he was so short.
He should have gone as a ball boy.
It really wasn't.
Should have gone as a ball boy. I can hang shit on Grant. He's a good friend of mine. Whenever I go up the mountain, I do have a beer with him, and he always stops and says hello to me. He has a good old chin wag, and he's a great guy, Grant. So I'll actually quote a good friend of Brett, who Brett's known for decades, and subsequently introduced me, and I've become friends with Christian now. And every time Christian sees him, doesn't matter where it is in Australia, at any track, he can yell out from 10 metres away or 10 kilometres away and go, "Hey, you little shit!" And Grant will know Christian's voice and go, "How you doing, mate?" and run over to him. So like not like Grover from the Muppets, Grover from Sesame Street, but Grant he recognises Christian's voice from any distance or any circumference, and Christian's got a standard saying, "Hey, you going, you little shit?" And woof, there you got his attention.
Not taking him to be one of the dwarves and stuff.
Right. He's a really down to earth great guy. He's not just all that hype on TV. He's a top bloke. Top bloke, Grant.
Just don't get him and Tony Quinn in a room together.
Really? That's another story.
That sounds like it. Anyway, let's end up there. Now, you mentioned about the Olivia Newton-John thing, and we mentioned we did mention that. So also you mentioned Tasmania, and I'll just scroll back down here because
You're still not annoyed because Buckley's going down and then coaching at Geelong now instead of Tassie already. He's only just getting experience at Geelong before he goes there. They gave him a plot of land and a tractor.
I hadn't heard that. What? He's not coaching Geelong.
Yeah. So Nathan Buckley has signed with Geelong as an assistant coach as of today and next year, and it's all. And the Tasmanian Devils have released a statement, which is probably the reason why they're something a bit behind. He's going down to get his self back in coaching mind and shape, so that way when he goes to the Devils, he'll have a bit more up to date information.
Well, when he goes down there, he'll be able to go. In fact, I was talking to someone about this today. Now, a couple of things we mentioned a couple of weeks ago about the state of Australian historic racing and how confusing it all is. Today, it was announced that there is going to be a new historic sort of promoters commission. I don't have the thing in front of me right now. Mike Hurley is the chairperson of it. Our mate Mark Goldsmith, who's a regular viewer of the show and contributes comments on here from South Australia, he's on the committee as well. And the idea is basically to try and hopefully bring a bit of common sense into the whole calendar for historic racing. But one of the big, and I think one of the best meetings in Australia is, of course, the Baskerville Historic, which is coming up in November. And Ellis is saying that already over 200 entries, including 30
awesome.
early model holders. Look, if you've got
stuff.
any chance of getting down there, you will have. I said to someone today, they went, I've seen it on your show a couple. It looks like a real. And I said, look, just go. If you only go to one race meeting this year, go to the Baskerville Historics. You will have such a good time. It's an amazing track. It's a great venue. Terrific, just a wonderful event. So friendly. Cars you just don't see here on the mainland, especially all those old Holdens. It's like the Galapagos Islands for old cars, things that have never come across to the mainland. They were built there, they raced there, they've never come across here, and you'll see them down at Baskerville on the first weekend of November, just before the Melbourne Cup. And then, of course, after that, a lot of those guys are going to be jumping across and getting back for the Sandown Historic as well. Okay, so
I was going to go and I can't now.
that's a shame. Yeah, we're not getting down there this year. I must admit, I keep looking at airfares and all the rest of it, and going, yeah, could I? But it's I'll probably give it a miss this year. But yeah, it is a fabulous track, a fabulous meeting. So get down there and enjoy it. Okay, everybody, we better get out of here. We've just hit the hour mark. So
historics. Don't forget, historics are the Saturday 8th and Sunday the 9th of November. That's
November, yeah.
I'm at Queensland Raceway this weekend, where did the thing go? I had the list of all the things on my other screen here, and it's hang on here. No, it's gone.
It's gone. But you will be.
XLs, touring cars. Lots of fascinating stuff. So yes, Queensland Raceway. Looking forward to having a ball.
Okay, this is coming up this weekend. So if you're going down to Phillip Island, if you're going up to Queensland Raceway, anywhere you're going, if you're going down to the pub for a drink, say hello to Chaz when you get down there. We will see you.
Buying the Great Northern.
Eric is saying tickets to Sandown, please. Eric, I'm afraid those days are gone for all of us.
I was going to say, yep. It's lug it yourself.
Yeah, that's it. I think we'll be probably paying ourselves if we want to go. Anyway, but we'll see you. Now, I don't know about next week because we need to take a bit of a break, and I've got lots of things on at the moment. Once again, stay tuned to the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. And thanks very much. I had a look this year because the show's not on and all the rest of it. Like on Channel 31 anymore. And I thought, we're obviously going to take.
I don't have to put up with us two clowns at the moment.
Yeah, so I thought we're going to take a big hit. I was really surprised. We're actually our viewership is actually up a little bit this year. So there you go.
We have a break and
Don't turn up. You get more viewers.
How are you gonna miss us if we don't go away? Okay, we will see you. We'll see you next. We'll see you either next week or the week after, or perhaps never again. Who knows? But
depends on Brett's back upgrades.
Well, it more depends on my upgrades or downgrades, depending on which way they are. Okay, we'll see you. We'll see you very good.
Have a great racing weekend, whatever you're watching, guys, and going to have fun.